Ladies and gentlemen, the day is finally here. After weeks of emotional turmoil, bloodshed in the streets, general flatulence, and even loads of existential tears, Loki has finally redeemed itself with episode 4. I mean, it had everything. Actors, dialogue, music, and best of all, a really killer momentum where a lot of the things that were hinted at in previous episodes have finally been enlightened. Hey everyone, it's Chriselle again, and welcome to my breakdown of Loki episode 4. So let's get started with a quick episode recap. I'm sure you've already watched it, so I'm going to give you the cliff notes. Ravonna is clearly pissed. Chaos ensues in the TVA after the events of the second episode where Sylvie bombed the sacred timeline. Loki and Sylvie are finally saved from Lamentis 1. They're just about to have a tender moment, thereby creating this Nexus event because two chaotic beings falling for each other. That alerts the TVA, who comes and saves their butts. Mobius is back in this episode, and he feels hella betrayed by Loki. I think as a way to get a little revenge, he even banishes Loki to what's called a time cell, or essentially a time loop, where Loki repeatedly has his ass kicked by Sif for a follicular crime. We even finally learn a little bit about Sylvie in this episode, where it was revealed that she was a child in Asgard when she was abducted by the TVA, who erased her reality. In time, she managed to steal a temp pad and escape the clutches of the TVA, and has been hiding in apocalyptic worlds this whole time. Let's see, what else? Two-faced Ravonna is giving off really weird conniving vibes this whole episode, where she's a little sweet and soft with Mobius, but at the same time you can tell she's lying about a crap ton of things, like the death of one of the commanders who was formerly enchanted by Sylvie, the Timekeepers, the TVA employees in general. Mobius finally gets his ears up and believes Loki when he says that all of the TVA employees are variants who've had their minds wiped and their realities taken from them. To Mobius, it's confirmed when he steals a temp pad from Ravonna, where he finds a pretty incriminating file of the commander who was killed by the TVA. Also, another TVA agent known as B-15 reaches the same conclusion as Mobius because she was enchanted herself. She realizes that she had this whole other life and past before the TVA, and she wasn't just a product of the Timekeepers. All of that to say that Ravonna finally figures out that Mobius is wise to her plans. She prunes him with one of those thingamajigs, and then she takes Loki and Sylvie to be pruned in front of the Timekeepers. This is where it gets really interesting because the Timekeepers are revealed to be mindless androids, just a front, which begs the question, just who is even running the TVA? Loki gets pruned just as he's about to confess his love to Sylvie. Sylvie demands answers from Ravonna about what's really going on with the TVA. And in the meanwhile, we finally get a mid-credit scene in true Marvel fashion, where we see Loki awaken in this other world with a bunch of other Lokis surrounding him. So yes, a crap ton has just happened in this episode, and we're about to break it all down. Whew! I'm gonna rate this episode Actually, you know what? Let me first tell you how I rated the previous episodes. The first episode I had rated a 6 out of 10. The second was a 6.5. The third one really killed the momentum for me, so it was a 5.5. And this one, episode 4, I'm gonna give it a 7.5. That's right, I'm committing to it. A solid, robust, unapologetic 7.5 out of 10. Here are some things I really liked about the episode. Now, I fully recognize that I am the brokenest of records because I say this in every single video breakdown that I've done so far, but Tom Hiddleston is a juggernaut of an actor. One particular scene that sold it for me was, not that I needed any convincing, the scene where he was interrogated by Mobius, where Mobius was trying to figure out what caused the Nexus event on Lamentis, and Mobius leads him to believe that Sylvie was pruned and died. Tom goes from indifference to shock to grief to anger to relief in a matter of like a couple of seconds, and it is so beautifully done. So well done, Tom. It was also really nice to see Sif again. Hey Sif, how's it going? Mobius mentions jet skis again, which is, it's confirmed. There has to be a high-speed jet ski chase at the end of this season or we riot. In a previous video, I crapped all over Mobius and Loki's bromance just because I didn't see the chemistry. You know what? Very humbly, I'm gonna eat my words. I realize how precious the two of them are. They're pure and witty dynamic that they bring to the scene. So I'm gonna eat my words and cite this as one of the things that I really loved in this episode specifically. Lastly, I just wanted to shout out Tom's shirt, fitted dress shirt, that was essentially doing the work of all 10 gods in the Nordic pantheon by clinging to that really swole bod. Yes, I'm simping for Tom, and yes, I'm unapologetic about it. Alright, so now let's explore the other side of the coin. Here's a list of things that I didn't really like. Ooh, drama. First thing is, I didn't really dig the CGI for the Timekeepers. One of them looked like the Grinch with a stash, morphed with a Dilophosaurus. Am I pronouncing that right? One of the others looked like the Silver Surfer, morphed with the Dilophosaurus. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the whole Sylvie Loki romance. They just have so much more of a sibling dynamic than they do romantic chemistry. However, I will say that with so much else going on, it's a forgivable sin. Plus, just the idea of two really chaotic beings falling in love with each other to create a Nexus event is very star-crossed lovery, which, you know, sort of fuels my fire. I mean, Romeo and who? Liet? Thing is, I would argue that there's way too many Lokis in this one. At first it was just Loki and Sylvie, which was fine. Now that Loki has been pruned to this other world where we discover so many more variant Lokis, I'm just thinking it's watering down the effervescence of the god of mischief now that there's him and like 100 more. Overall, it's still a little strange that this is 2012 Loki, who mere days ago sicked a bunch of aliens on New York City and was plotting the downfall of humanity. So now to see him have such emotional depth and introspection where he falls for Sylvie, where despite her being a goddess of mischief, he trusts her at every step of the way. He easily befriends Loki, and they're now working together to take down, and I'm sure in the future they're going to start working together to take down the Timekeepers and the TVA. It's a little weird that this is the same 2012 Loki. Also, some of the lovey-dovey dialogue in there where Mobius is like, you matter and you don't deserve to be alone and there is good in you. I do feel like that's a little misplaced and cringy, but you know what? Again, forgivable sins that doesn't warrant a lot of dwelling upon given that there's so much else happening. I suppose this is the inevitable pitfall of having just 6 episodes to flesh out this entire subsect, this entire universe, and without it being hurried and premature and uncharacteristic, untrue to a lot of the characters, at least to a certain degree. With that said, here's what I'm looking forward to in the future. Unanswered questions, if you will. So the first is, at the end of this episode, Sylvie is about to grill Ravonna about what's really going down in the TVA. Some Redditors are speculating that Kang, the Conqueror, is about to make an appearance. Super quick research showed me that Kang was Ravonna's love interest in the books, although they were forbidden lovers because he was a commoner and she was royalty. So we'll see if Kang is truly behind the machinations of the TVA. Speaking of Ravonna, I do find her interesting because it's clear to see that she's torn between two allegiances. She definitely had a soft side for Mobius and it broke her to the core to have to prune him, but at the same time there's some ulterior motive that is unfurling behind the scenes that's causing her to stay loyal to whoever she answers to. So I'd be curious to know what her story is. Was she also a variant at some point? Did she sell her soul to run the TVA? Interested to know how that pans out. Now this is something that I've been thinking about for a little bit. In the last episode, a lot of us were speculating that perhaps Just perhaps Loki and Sylvie's time on Lamentis 1 was largely an enchantment sequence, courtesy of Sylvie. Clearly it isn't, at least it doesn't seem to be, but I still feel some sort of plot twist-esque trickery on the part of Sylvie that's coming along at some point, that's going to be revealed maybe in the 5th episode, or maybe in the last episode even, I'm not sure. But I would be surprised if there was truly no plot twist at all from either of the Lokis. There is trickery afoot. Now that Loki is sent to this other alternate dimensions with a bunch of other Lokis, is Mobius also sent to another dimension with a bunch of other Mobiuses? Because it's clear to see that Mobius has not died. It would be super lame of the writers to ixnay him at this point when we're just getting into him. So yeah, I wonder what happened to him. We'll see. And as a quick side note, Ravonna has yet to reveal why Sylvie was taken as a child from Asgard by the TVA. What was the Nexus event that occurred that caused that? It's clear to see that they have a history, that they have a past. I'd like to know how that plays out. And with that, that is my breakdown of Loki episode 4. I'm gushing. I've never been this energetic, I think, while doing a Loki episode breakdown. This was definitely the highlight of my week. Now, I want to turn it over to you. What were the highlights and lowlights for you in this episode? And also, do you agree with me when I say that the main character that deserves serious Oscar buzz is, of course, Loki's shirt? Because, I mean, look at that thing. It's worth its weight in Asgardian gold. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you for watching this, if you made it so far. I will catch you next week for the episode 5 breakdown. I don't know why I'm talking this slowly, as if you were a toddler. Maybe you are. I don't think I cussed in this video, which is so much the better if you are. Loki repeatedly has his ass kicked. And with that, I will see you very, very, very soon. Bye.